I'm assuming the worst.
Morant issued a statement following the Silver interview, saying he takes full accountability for his actions and is, quote, committed to continuing to overcome himself. Tony Genualdo, Fox News.
The San Antonio Spurs won the NBA draft lottery, getting first pick. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
From West End to New Prospect, this is The Legend. 105.3 and 95.3 WDXE.
Hey, that's us, The Legend, WDXE, AM 1370, 105.3 FM around the world at WDXE.com. And now live streaming at the moment from the studios here at WDXE on Facebook and on YouTube. That's what we are. And my good friend, Mr. Barry Bryan, is in here.
Well, good morning, Mr. Hood. Thank you so much for having me today. I feel honored.
Well, I feel honored. Actually, I appreciate you agreeing to come in this morning. And I knew that at some point we could get you in here, and it just so happened that it happened to be today.
Well, very good. And like you said, you and I can usually talk just about anything.
We can.
So we can work it out.
We can. And you've got the perfect radio voice. I need to get you in here to cut some commercials for me.
Hey, I'll do it. Push it. Pull it. Drag it on in.
Good man. Good man. I like it. I like it. Well, a lot of you probably know Mr. Barry Bryan and been a long time, lifelong member, I guess, or part of Lawrence County.
Yes, always.
And you know what I thought? I thought about this this hour in having the talk show kind of format. Of course, we'll take phone calls if you want to, that kind of thing. But one of the things I thought about doing on Wednesdays, if I continue to do this hour, is to have just folks in from around the community to tell them a little bit of their background and about themselves and their life a little bit. And of course, you were born and raised up in the Etheridge area.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so give us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, that kind of thing, so people that don't know would know, and the people who do know will enjoy hearing it anyway.
Okay, well, maybe they'll enjoy it. Yeah, I grew up, I'm a 1969 model. I got here just before the moon shot.
Yes.
So was a little bit too little to remember that, but yeah, I grew up on Rushing Road in Etheridge. That's just off Campbellsville Road there. And Mr. Jeff there was kind enough after that. My mother, she was my last surviving parent when she passed away. Mr. Jeff took care of our auction and handled it really well. And to tell you the truth, something I hadn't thought about until that day, that it really matters whenever that you have someone that you really trust and you really feel is a friend, and making sure everything goes right on those days like that when they're so important to you. So I don't know if I told you enough that day, but I really did appreciate you taking that on for us and handling it in the way that you handled it, because it was very professional.
Well,
and I do appreciate that.
We were honored to do it. We certainly were. It was a good sale, a good piece of property, and of course a great family.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I grew up there. From my mom's front porch, well, mom and dad, they were both there, but from the front porch there, you could see about 7 Amish houses. So we had a pretty good little Amish influence there. Mom never did really trust the Amish too awful much, but and it was odd because we got to see a lot of things from the Amish, because we were back then. Etheridge had 2 mail routes, and then back in the 70s, it was Route 1 and Route 2.
Right.
Route 1 came down Campbellsville Road and hit the Amish houses. Route 2 stopped at our driveway and turned around.
Okay.
So they got their mail off Campbellsville Road about 9 a.m. We got our mail about 1 to 2 p.m. So what would happen a lot of times, they would get a letter, and then they would be able to reply that afternoon, and they'd send one of the kids up to our mailbox to put it in. And when they did, we would watch them, because Mom and Dad, we didn't have air conditioning in the house. We had the windows open and all like that in the summertime, and you could see out. Mom could see out Campbellsville Road from her where she washed dishes and in the kitchen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you'd see these little Amish kids take off running wide open, because their parents knew how long it should take them to come to our house, drop off the letter, and get back. They'd run as hard as they could, put the letter in the box, swing on my swing set as hard as they could for about 5 minutes, and they'd run back on. So that was always enjoyable. And sometimes I was out there and they'd play with me for a little bit. We had an old broke down A Farmall tractor that me and some of the Amish kids drove 1,000,000 miles out in our backyard until Daddy sold it one day. And the gentleman, I won't tell you his name, who come got it, but I hated that man for a long time because he took my tractor off.
Took your tractor.
Mom even had a little quilt in it so it wouldn't burn my legs, and an old metal seat on that old A Farmall.
So you're a graduate of Etheridge Elementary School?
We went to Etheridge Elementary School, and you know what? I learned a lot there at Etheridge Elementary.
Oh,
we were kindergarten through 8th grade.
Yeah.
And then a lot of us kids, I think just about everybody in my class would say that we were very tight. And so even when we went on to high school and had high school reunions, a lot of us from 8th grade Etheridge
Sure.
would kind of congregate together.
Oh yeah, yeah. Same thing with us at New Prospect
Yep.
too. Yeah, same
Yep.
thing. Now, did you go to Lawrence County High? Or?
Yes, I did. You know, my sister Sandy, Jeff is familiar with my sister Sandy. There was
Yeah.
4 of us. There was Steve, Donna, Sandra, and me.
Right.
Sandy went to Summertown. She was the only one that did, and she did because she was a very good ball player.
That's
She
right.
played
I remember that.
softball and basketball all the time. And Jimmy Freeman,
Right.
at that time, was coaching at Summertown.
Yep.
And he told Sandy, if you'll come to Summertown, I'll start you.
Yeah.
And so she knew she was going to have a good position starting there at Summertown. And to tell you the truth, it worked out good for her because she was at Summertown. She was in better standing for the Murray Scholarship. So she won the Murray Scholarship to go on to college afterwards. So that really worked out well for her.
Sure did. Sure did. I remember she was a great athlete.
Yeah. Now, I got none of that. It was a good thing computers come along because
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to ask you about. How did you end up? Of course, people that know that you are a partner at DRM.
Yes.
DRM is an automation company, a manufacturing automation company, as well as other total plant integration,
Yep.
as we used to say.
Coin? Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, is a good term, but a lot of people may not even know what they're talking about.
Oh, they do not. Some people say we're the best kept secret in Lawrence County. And for that reason, a lot of people don't really understand what all we built. And I will tell you, a lot of things have changed in Lawrence County since I was younger. And as far as technology, as far as education, as far as all of that.
Mhm.
And remind me to get back into how I got to this. But I
Yes.
do want to say, just very quickly, DRM has been in business now. This June 1st, will be our 28th year.
Wow.
And Jeff
Wow.
and I have been together for 34 years.
Yeah, and when you say Jeff, you mean Jeff
Jeff
Marston.
Marston.
A lot of people know Jeff Marston.
Yeah.
He is also a partner at DRM.
Yeah, and Jeff Marston's dad was Mr. Norman Marston,
Right.
who was very big in the school system here.
Oh yeah.
And part of what we do with the school system is a legacy to him, and how much that we appreciate what he did, and we've seen the benefits from that. So what I would like to say, whenever that we first started as DRM, and Mr. Hood helped us with this, we tried to push more automation in the school system in the county, and it pretty well fell flat. But in the last few years, with Shannon taking over for a lot of the CTE, Shannon Watson with CTE, she used to be Shannon Hurst,
Yeah.
and Hope McDowell, and that whole bunch like that, they have really turned that around. Miss Anne Marie Lampright, she's working through all the schools, and Miss Childress with Miss Sam Childress over at Lawrence County High School with the engineering department. It's amazing, the kids and the technology that we're turning out now in Lawrence County.
Yes.
People don't realize how many high-tech businesses there are here. We had opportunity for a high-tech business to come in years ago in the old Tridon building, where Bertolini is now.
Yes.
But the reason why that particular company was Verizon didn't come here was they didn't think that people here were technically capable enough. That has so much changed since that
It
day.
has.
Lawrence County it was a line in the sand. We're the other way. I'm gonna tell you something. I deal some with Murray County. Murray County is nowhere near where Lawrence County is on automation, mathematics, any kind of sciences.
That's good to know.
Oh, yeah, we're folks. We
That's
are
good to
out
know.
there. We had the pleasure, Lawrence County, LUS, a lot of the different businesses around here, where it was at Etheridge, whenever Etheridge got STEM designated, science and,
Right.
and technology and engineering and mathematics, and they've added arts in the middle of that too, and that makes a lot of sense. People think, well, what do arts have to do with engineering and those things? Everything we do in engineering has to look a certain good way, and that's where the arts fits right into that.
Not only that, it helps with the creativity.
It does.
Which helps with the
That's all of it. Yes.
automation.
Yes, it all
Absolutely.
matters. So that's a real good added. People don't understand that a lot, but we made the plea for Etheridge to get that. Etheridge got some really good grants from the state. So are other county schools.
Mhm.
They are pushing it. Our high school. Shannon had me. I'm just going to give one example. Shannon and Hope asked me to write a letter to the state one time about it was for some better equipment for the engineering department, and it was for measurement. And what it was It was for calipers. So anybody that's familiar with micrometers and calipers,
Yes.
it was for that. So our students could get certified and used for high-end, high-tech measurement devices.
Yes.
Okay. So I thought it sounded good. I wrote a letter. When this thing came in, I'll bet you, it's well over $100,000 worth of equipment.
Awesome.
It's in that huge Snap-on box. It's fantastic. So our kids are coming out of our high schools prepped for technical college way better than a lot of others are. I mean, it's really good, and that's moving around. They're doing a drone program now, Jeff, where the kids, you think, okay, well, they're flying drones. No. They are programming Python, which is a Microsoft programming language to make these things work. So they're going to go straight in to a technical college or something like that, knowing how to do these things, which is a huge step.
Yeah, well,
ahead.
let me back up and pump with you just a bit,
Yes.
because people don't realize, and maybe they don't, that that DRM has been such a big part of that, but they really don't even realize what you're doing.
Sure.
And there is, when we say automation, robotics, plant integration, those kind of things that are so much a part of today's manufacturing,
Yes.
more so than even when I was
Yes.
looking at it. It's escalated at a rate that's beyond me.
Yes.
And you guys are at the forefront of that and have been for many, many years. So when I
Yes.
say people don't realize what's happening right there, right here in Lawrenceburg, there's robotic sales being done and has been done for years,
Yes.
and beyond.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about, as a matter of fact, our customers, sometimes when they ask us to build something like that, they will ask for, they call it an automation sale. So you can have a work cell that's typically manual, where you have people doing work in there, and that's fine. And people have this idea that robotics, it takes away from the workforce. It absolutely does not. It adds to the workforce. As a matter of fact, I saw a special on television where one of the a very popular reporter that everyone has seen on television before was interviewing the UAW, the United Auto Workers, saying, "What do you feel about robotics being used in the industry?" They said, "We love it, because if it wasn't for robotics, we would not be able to keep up with the Germans and the Japanese in building cars."
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because it's the, but you have so many people, and the jobs are better around that. So Mr. Hood helped us one time with a project years ago where this company just outside of Huntsville, Alabama, had a lot of little individual stamping presses where people would take their hands, take a little part, put it inside the press, hit a pedal, it would punch the part, and they'd take it out and put it into a bucket.
Yep.
So what they asked to automate that, because all these people that they had were temporary folks, and they were getting hurt all the time because they weren't trained well enough. They were moving them in and out. It's a bad situation. We could take one robot, put 4 of those machines together, have the one robot put its hand in a gripper in the way of the dangerous stuff. And then you had those people bringing material to and taking away from,
Right.
which is a lot better job. It paid
Much safer back then.
it paid 2.5 to 3 times more, because we were using human dexterity to look at the parts, your eyes known for quality, and they could make changes to the parts to make them better as they came through. So it was a whole lot better all the way around. That's what a lot of people don't realize about automations. It does that. Now, it's not just robotics. Robotics is a very small part of it. As a matter of fact, thinking right now, robotics is probably 25 to 30% of our business.
Okay.
And the rest of it is all the other automation pieces that goes with it. We have all kinds of skilled people there who are skilled electricians, skilled millwrights, which do like cutting and welding and work like that. We have certified welders. We have people that are assemblers. We have all kinds of automated equipment to help build these things. We have engineers, both mechanical and electrical, that design the systems as they come through. We have project managers. We have a panel shop group where we build any automated device has to have controls to it. So we have these panels that we build. Now we build them for ourselves. We build a lot of them for Bridgestone and different places like that too. So we have a lot of different things like that that's going on. But just recently, one of the largest ones we built was a line that's actually going to build the new BMW cars, the Model 3s,
Okay.
will have a glass roof. The whole roof of the car is glass, just like windshield glass.
Wow.
The roof is about a little over 4 feet long by just nearly 4 feet wide.
Wow.
And we have the people will bring that glass to the cell, put it into a rack. Robots will unrack it. We run a plasma treater, which is a flame treat that makes the glass adhere, makes the adhesive adhere better. We run 2 different types of adhesive across that glass, put it into a mold, and put a trim around that glass. And then we work with the robotics and operators work together to trim it, and then it puts it back into a rack that will be shipped to BMW and installed just outside of that factory. So it's BMW glass. So actually, the company we're working for makes the glass, but then they value add to it, and BMW uses it in the cars. It's not out yet. It will be coming out in next year's car.
I've had the privilege of seeing some of those robotic operations, and you guys developed. Of course, I had a short stay with DRM. Was a part of DRM for a while, way back, and that's how you and I became closer friends and have been for years. But seeing a robot grab a windshield or a piece of glass like you're talking about and handle it, and then perhaps another robot or a piece of equipment applied adhesive, and watch the motion of it. It's just pretty awesome.
I want to show you.
All of that has to be programmed.
Yes.
All that has to be made.
Well, it's all completely thought about before it ever happens. What people don't realize about robotics is that robots are not smart. All it's doing is replaying what somebody else has taught it to do.
That's exactly
and
right.
There's some ifs in there, so if this happens or if that. But other than that, it's all thought about and it's programmed, put together. When we get a chance, I will show you that line that I'm talking about. It's 225 feet long and it has 40 robots on it.
Yeah. I came to see, and it's been a few years ago now. Y'all were involved in building a big cell there in your shop. It seemed like there were, I forget how many robots in that cell, but a lot.
Yeah, and most of them have about 10 or so.
And y'all had it all operating there. Then it all has to be transported.
Yes.
To wherever it's going.
Yes, and we build it with taking it apart in mind. If you saw one of those and saw how many wires and all that's in there, we can take one apart in just a couple days, and we can typically go and install it on site in about 3 to 4 days. And then we have to bring our programmers back in there to adjust everything and set it all back up, and it's ready to go. Pretty awesome. It is. It's amazing, and just everybody that works for us is Lawrence County folks for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, and it really is very rewarding when we see these young folks that we bring in see these pieces of equipment running and decide, I want to do that. Yeah. Because years ago, I know my folks were quite good about talking about everybody about you need to be in your place. We're turning everybody around. You need to look, because there's no reason why that anybody here in Lawrence County can't be anything that they want to be. They just have to realize that it's there.
Oh, yeah.
And you go for it, and you can do it. It's not over until you give up. If you want to be a surgeon, just don't think because you're from Lawrence County you can't be a surgeon, because you most certainly can.
Well, we've had a lot of people who proved that.
Yes.
Who proved that quite well, as a matter of fact. You guys are great examples of what can be done. Jeff Marston, we talked about Jeff, and one of the best people I know, by the way. His dad, Norman Marston, a lot of people remember him. I was scared to death of him. When I was at junior high, he was the principal there at the Kaufman when I came through. I was only there in the 8th grade. New Prospect went K through 8, but I wanted to play football, and I got to the 8th grade, and I wanted to play football, and the only way for me to play football was to go to E.O. Kaufman. So I had 1 year of football at E.O. Kaufman, and Norman Marston happened to be the principal, and at that time, it was okay to smoke a pipe. Yeah. And he smoked a pipe. And he would have that pipe in his teeth, and come down the hall, and he usually had his paddle in his hip pocket, sticking up behind his back. And he was a fairly good-sized fella. Yeah. And after I got to know him as more of a grown man, there wasn't a nicer man. Right. But he scared me to death on the front end. Which is kind of a good thing. Right. To hold everybody in check. Yeah. I guess you have to have a little bit of an air about you. Yeah. And Jeff Marston and his wife Donna. Now Donna, you may not know this. You know this. Donna and Teresa, my wife, are first cousins, and
Yes.
and so we have a family connection. But Jeff Marston is one of the great people that I know. I've been a great friend for many years. But I got tickled at him. We went on a vacation together, a camping vacation, which we weren't campers. Now, Jeff and Donna were quite skilled campers,
Right.
but we weren't campers. But we were going to go camping. We went to Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Yeah.
We actually rented a pop-up camper to take with us. That's because we didn't have one.
Right.
So we went off on that. But I remember the thing I was going to tell is Marston is one of those guys that can figure out anything.
Yes.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's absolutely brilliant. And I say that in all sincerity.
Right.
Me and him have joked around about a lot of things, but he is a very brilliant mind, technically.
Yes.
Just unreal.
Yes.
Well, one of the reasons he's that way is he takes technical books with him on vacation and reads them.
Yeah.
I remember, most people vacation and they get away from work, they take a novel.
Yeah.
Well, he brings out this technical book that's about a foot thick, sits down in his chair, sniffs a time or two, and starts reading this technical book. So, and that was one of the things I remember when I worked at DRM. If there was a problem that one of the programmers couldn't solve and they called Marston,
Yeah.
the first thing he would say is, "Did you read it?"
Yeah. That's true.
Did you read it? Did you read the instructions?
Yeah.
Which is hard for me too. But anyway, but he would usually figure it out. We had some good characters.
Oh yeah.
We had some great characters that worked there. One of my favorites, and probably yours too, was John Payton.
I knew that's where you were going with that.
You remember John Payton?
Jeff wanted to start a reality TV show with him at the center of
I
it.
sure did.
Automation Nation.
Yes, I remember. That was, if you remember, you and I, we talked about this a lot.
Yep.
The at that time, what was it? American Chopper came out.
Yes.
The show American Chopper, and I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
It's all this shop. So I thought, man, DRM was perfect for that. And we had all the characters for it.
Yep.
And I tried to talk you guys into us having a show called Automation Nation.
Yep.
Where we would, and you could imagine how John Cheese Paley would be on a show like that. It would be pretty bad.
Right. We decided every time he opened his mouth, he's going to do the beep just every time.
Yeah. We
just
decided we just bleep him no matter what. He would just be bleeped no matter what he said.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, he was quite a character.
Certainly was.
And
very brilliant individual too.
Yeah, he was. He was super sharp. A great programmer.
Yep.
And he could figure out things that others couldn't.
Yep.
I remember him solving lots of problems.
Yep.
I remember also. I was going to talk about this because I was involved in this project. You remember going to the Milan Army?
Oh yeah.
Air Force.
Yeah, the munitions.
The munition plants in Milan, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Some of you may know. I see a truck from there every once in a while.
Yeah.
It'll say Milan on it.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a munitions facility.
Yeah.
And it is, I think it's actually operated by the federal government. Is it not?
Yes, it may be a contractor, but it directly supplies the government. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had a project there where they had these 40 millimeter shells. You remember this?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you remember the project was the way they were doing it. And this is one of those examples where automation come into play to make it safer and better.
Yep.
And do what they were doing better. They had ladies that would take these empty shells. They had the primer in them, but they were these 40 millimeter shells, and they would have to dip them in, and I forget what it was. It was some kind of coating.
Yep.
That would protect it from moisture.
Yep.
They dipped the bottom of them, and all they really wanted was it to be around that primer.
Yep.
And so they would dip them, and then they'd have to wipe them off. And it was causing issues down the road because they wouldn't get all of that prime. Right. It was called red something, I forget.
Yep, that's it.
And so we came up with a way to just shot dose. It was like a little needle thing, more or less.
It took less than a drop.
It took less than a drop, really, just to and it would wick around that primer. And I got to be involved in that project. That was kind of interesting just to be over there. And I'll tell you a quick story. If you remember the time that we were over there, it was shortly after 9/11.
Yes.
It wasn't too long after 9/11. And the security was really high over there. when we would go. You'd have to go through all kind of security, this, that, and the other. And I was driving a little truck or some kind of vehicle, and I had forgotten that I had my .22 pistol down beside the driver's seat.
Yep, Shane Cox is in there with you.
Shane Cox was in here with me. He sure was, and he's an ex-military. He was a veteran.
Yep.
And so there's the guys over there on the Humvees with sitting on the Humvees in the middle of the hot sun of July, whatever it was, eating Cheetos, bored to death. And we pull up, and they inspect the car. And why I did this, I have no idea. Even to this day, I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
The lady asked me, she found some .22 cartridges that I had in the console.
Yeah.
She asked me if I had a gun in there, and I said no, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
And she looked right at it and got up and said, "Well, go on, sir." And I got in the car, and I'm thinking, why did I do that? I should have told. It was crazy. Is what it was. But anyway, I told Shane, I said, "There is a gun in here," and he about lost his mind.
Oh, he did.
He just about lost his mind. So anyway, we were, by the grace of God, I guess, we were spared a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. I got into a similar situation with that with Barry Humphreys.
Yeah.
And Jeff Smith. And, I found out right when we were getting searched that there was a firearm. And it was a really small little thing. And so anyway, I was already looking for a soft place to get down on the floor in case we were going to be handcuffed and carried off. And I was nervous the whole time we were there, and nothing happened. They searched my truck for 20 minutes and didn't find it. And then when we left, I bought a lottery ticket. It's the only time I ever bought a lottery ticket. I did not win. I thought today's my lucky day. I'm going to hit it big. I did not. I won an opportunity to play the lottery again.
Yeah.
That was all I did. But that was very interesting. Although, well, let's say you was talking about my wife a minute ago, she bought me one of those pistols just like that to commemorate that. So I have it's a, if you ever want to look it up, it's a North American Arms 22. It's a Magnum, 22 Magnum. But yeah.
Well, we sold one at our last auction that was the smallest little pistol I think I've ever seen. It's called a pocket pistol. It's a 22. It was all chrome plated, I guess, or whatever.
Yes.
And the cylinder just comes completely out.
Mm-hmm.
And you pull the pin, the cylinder comes completely out, and you put it back in, and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I had never seen one until at least live. I think I've seen them maybe on TV or something like that.
Yeah, they're very well made, and they are very safe the way they're made. It's made to carry, and there's no way if you put it in your pocket right or whatever, it can go off. I don't carry. I don't have that one. I have it so that I could if I decided that I wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go to enough places that don't want you to carry that I'm afraid I would forget.
Well, I understand. And I don't care either. That I want anybody to know about.
Right.
How about that? We'll leave it at that.
Never mind that bulge in the side of your shirt. I'm kidding.
Oh my goodness. Well, we could talk DRM stories.
Yes.
For days.
Yes.
We sure could. You've got some great characters over there, some great friends, still friends.
Yes.
Doyle Cooper.
Yes.
Is one of my favorites.
Yes, absolutely. Talked to Doyle some this morning. He has not changed one bit.
Yeah.
He's the same good old Doyle. As a matter of fact, he's doing a palletizing application, and we're calling it Doyle Pal now. So
Doyle Pal.
Doyle Pal, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're bound to get a nickname around there before too long.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, a longtime fixture there, and of course, he's retired now, but a lot of people know Mr. Tony Morgan was a part of that company for many, many years. Is some of his boys still working?
Tim's still there.
Tim's still there?
And then his grandson TJ's there.
Okay, well, good deal. And there was, let's see, I'm trying to think. Oh, how could I forget? Tracy Hammond.
Tracy's still around.
Tracy's still over there?
He's still there. Yeah, he is our panel shop foreman, and right now a lot of our guys are. We had a large project down in Huntsville or Decatur. We finished that one, and nearly everybody now that's that's not in engineering. Nearly everybody that's in field, panel shop, machine shop, anything like that is up in Hopkinsville, Kentucky at USST.
How many people are working there now?
About 65.
Wow.
We were a little bit bigger than
Wow.
that. We got up close to just right at 80 there for a while. And we kind of outgrew ourselves for a little bit. So we've been kind of backing up a little bit. Some of our folks have opportunities to go other places and stuff like that suited them. And
Yeah.
so we've done that. But yeah, we're right at 65.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you guys have done a fantastic job, built a great company, trusted company. We did a big project and worked up there for quite some time with U.S. Tobacco,
Yes.
which is downtown Nashville. They
Yes.
made the Bruton Snuff.
Yes.
They made Skoal and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And this was another one of those safety issues kind of
Yes.
things where
Mm-hmm.
they had these presses that pressed out the can lids.
Yes.
And they were a little bit unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember walking in there, and the aroma would
Mhm.
knock you down.
Yes. Very much so. People don't realize how fast some of that manufacturing is. We built a vision system that could count those lids, and we could do 900 a minute.
900 a minute.
900 a minute.
I remember that.
That was extremely fast. And all the normal systems up before that, you had to be about 12 to 18 feet beyond where the camera was before that you could kick them off just because of the latency. But we put some servos on that one and we kicked it off right at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it could sound like a machine gun going off if it did. But it was checking to make sure that the label was put on correctly. There was the right amount of rim around the top of the can, and everything was printed properly. So there's several things it was looking at. And we used that real fancy lens. It was called a parabolic. Either parabolic or parastolic. I forget. Maybe parastolic lens. But it
Lord.
looked like a flood lamp.
Yes.
And, it was bigger. It was about twice as big as the can of tobacco. But what it would do, it could see the top and all the way around the edges. So it flattened it all out because it was bigger. And
Yes.
it would take that. So it looked like just a round circle that was the top and all the way around the side. So it was inspecting everything except for the very bottom of the can.
Pretty amazing the technology that you guys have handled over the years. I don't know. This may be a too big of a question. I don't know, but do you have any idea how many projects that you guys have actually accomplished?
Let's see. If you remember, we had job numbers, and right now we're in the 5,000 range.
Wow.
On quote jobs, and you can probably add in about another 1,000 T&M jobs. So probably about 6,000 projects.
Yeah. You guys not only do a lot of work there yourself and all that kind of stuff, but you sub out some stuff, probably even to some local companies.
We do.
Yeah, so there's stuff.
And well, a lot of companies around here we trade too, because like certain people have certain machines and things like that.
Right.
And I know Sean Romer was coming by this morning from Romer Tool. He was needing something just outside the specifications of his machine.
It's amazing the tentacles that are out there that make things work. Things work. Well, I don't want to talk about work all day.
Okay.
We might talk about something else. I don't know. We've got a little more time to kill. And of course, if you got questions for Barry, would like to know more about that, the phone line is open, 766-9393. We can do that. We'll be glad to. But I was thinking about, you and I, we share jokes every once in a while.
Yes.
And we like good comedy.
Right.
We do.
A lot of Jerry Clower type
stuff. A lot of
stuff.
Jerry Clower type
Three
stuff.
Stooges.
Three Stooges. And you are a Three Stooges expert.
Well, I used to. I love them to this day. Them and the old Bugs Bunny cartoons that we grew up on. So you were doing that just a minute ago whenever I come in.
We are like-minded, my buddy. We are like-minded in that.
Well, things have changed a lot because my daughter, she's 15 now. About 2 years ago, Rowan's 15. About 2 years ago, I come through the house and I caught one of her and one of her buddies, because they're normally, kids would watch at that age, her age, a couple years ago, they might watch SpongeBob or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with SpongeBob or those things, but to me, they're just not funny.
Yeah.
Or not very funny. Not like what, not belly laughing.
Not the kind of funny we like.
No. And I heard them just cackling in there.
Yes.
And I went and looked, and it was Coyote and Roadrunner that they're watching. And she was just like me. She said, "Watch, he said he's about to turn over that plunger on the dynamite." And it's going, there you go, boom! It got it all just rolling in the floor laughing because they knew it was going to happen. just like it did. And I will say that there is no telling how many engineers that Wile E. Coyote created over the
That's
years
right.
from kids, because he could put a refrigerator on their back with an ice maker running off a motor, and him having skis on and coming off a cliff.
You got to come up with something.
Right, to catch the Roadrunner. That's right.
I have showed those to to Daniel. Now I will say the girls, they don't appreciate the Three Stooges like we do.
Right.
But now Daniel,
It's hard to get on that level. I mean, you have to be a certain level of intelligence to get to the Three Stooges. You know.
Be careful, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I have got them long enough to settle down and watch like the old Looney Tunes,
Oh yeah.
they love them.
Oh yeah.
They love them. They're so
Yep.
much fun. They're just so much fun. But anyway, the other thing that I was going to ask you about, I got thinking about this the other day, is the world of collectors.
Yeah.
You and I talked about this just briefly, and I'm
Mhm.
kind of springing a change of subjects on you. We
Right.
can bounce around. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But the world of collectors, of course, in the auction business, I see a lot of collections.
Yes.
I remember, gosh, it's been several years ago. We were going to sell for somebody, and this man had an entire bedroom full, and I don't mean just a little bit full. I mean full of brand new, never opened Hot Wheels cars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about Hot Wheels for days.
Yeah.
Did you ever play with Hot Wheels?
I loved them.
We love them too.
Yeah.
But now we didn't leave them in the packages.
No, they had the paint knocked off of them in just a couple days.
We
Yeah.
were
In the
we
dirt.
were
And,
wrecking them and crashing them, and this.
Yeah.
But there's a whole world of people who collect something like that, or they collect Star Wars stuff,
Yep.
or I never did get into that kind of thing. I do have a few pocket knives
Yes.
that I've collected over the years,
Mhm.
even some DRM pocket
Yes.
knives
Yes.
that you guys used to do.
We still do it.
You still do
Mhm.
that?
Still do that.
That's awesome.
Well, it's something the guys really like, and it's unique. Then we have a lower end. We give the folks at the shop, we give them a much higher end knife, and then we do a lower end for a handout like in plants. And
Yeah,
stuff.
I think I've got a couple of those. Well, one of the annual gift thing,
Yeah.
but I've also kept one of those. I think that we used to give away, the little DRM logo on them. They're pretty
Mhm.
slick.
Yep.
But do you have a collection of anything? Are you a collector of any kind?
Well, I didn't really think about it when you first said that. Yes, as a matter of fact, I do collect a few things. Now, my dad collected coins, and
Oh,
Jeff
yeah.
knows my dad, and Dad had a lot of
Yeah.
silver coins and things like that between he and Mom gave to me before he passed away, and then after Mom gave some of the grandkids and myself and some of the coins that he collected over the years.
Oh, wow.
Most of them pre-1964, where they got a little silver in them and,
Sure.
and those kinds of things.
Sure.
Now, I didn't really think I collected that much, but now that you mention it, my daughter mentioned part of it too. She said, "Dad, you have a Godzilla Christmas ornament collection," and I hadn't even thought about that. But I bet you I have. And my wife collected them. I mean, she got them for me because she knows I love the old. I mean, growing up, if Godzilla was on television,
Oh, me too.
that was it. You remember when we used to come in from school? There was like dialing for dollars,
Yep.
and it would have like the Dracula or Frankenstein or the African Queen or a Godzilla movie or a King, something like that. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, all those kind of things like that. I mean, you were glued to the television. If you didn't have to go to the garden or had to mow the yard,
What
you
was
did.
it? The Lagoon.
The Creature from the Black
The
Lagoon.
Creature from the Black Lagoon. How many movies are there?
Yeah, I know. And, Mom even bought me that little mask. That's back when you dressed up for Halloween. You just had the dollar plastic mask, Mervyn's 5 and 10. That was what you had in a little piece of. Eventually, the little rubber band would break off the back of it, and that was
Yes.
the end of your mask after
Into
that.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember having to breathe in that thing, and it would get sweaty.
Oh, yeah, there's just a little bitty mouth hole in it. And you didn't want to share that mask too much because it smelled funny if you ever did. Anybody else have it.
Old stinking mask.
Yep. But yeah, I didn't realize that. But yeah, I've got a lot of these. My wife has a huge collection of Hallmark ornaments. I mean, she's collected these. We've been married 27 years, and
Yeah.
she had the collection going for years. And some of them are the ones that you plug into the Christmas lights. So it's
Oh,
hard
yeah.
for us to find strings of lights now that we can still plug these things into because
Yeah.
they're so old and they start changing the ways that they make them.
Right.
But she has 2 9-foot tall Christmas trees now full of those nothing but Hallmark ornaments. It takes those 2 big, like 5-foot long totes to hold those ornaments
really?
in. And she's and she's very particular with those. And so these are Hallmark ornaments, the Godzilla ones that Rowan was talking about. And most of them, you push a button and they'll make a noise or get the screech off of it, or something like that. Have a little bit of fire.
Well, I would have not dreamed that.
Oh yeah, you need to come see that sometime.
I would have not dreamed that. Now Teresa has always made sure that she has bought, and she started this with Missy.
Yeah.
Every year she would buy a Hallmark Christmas ornament for her each year.
Yes.
And Missy has all of hers.
Yes.
And of course she started it with May and Dan as well.
Yes.
So they have, each year they get a Hallmark Christmas ornament, and so we've kind of collected those over the years, I guess. But we didn't set out to do that. But I thought I would ask, not only just between me and you, but anybody that wants to share with us what they might collect that they think is unusual. 766-9393 is the number. I'd like to hear some of the unusual collections that people have.
Please do
That'd be kind of fun. I thought, anyway, it'd be fun.
Well,
I've seen a lot of different collections, I'll tell you.
While we're waiting on someone to call in or to check in on that, I will tell you another collection I have, and my wife helped me with that too, are Colonel Coon knives.
Oh,
used to Colonel Coon was made in Columbia.
Yes.
And I come to find out that if any of you folks remember Delano Benefield, he made the handles for those. So all the handles, whether they were pearl, the pearl handles came from mussels out of Tennessee River, and the bone handles came from Long and Stevens Meat Market.
Really?
Up in Etheridge, yeah. And the guy
I guess I knew that.
This was an interesting story because I didn't realize that until we found one years ago. Owen Venable and I went to go get a load of slab wood at the Amish, and while we were there, every now and then you'd find something in the sawdust pile. You always looked in the sawdust pile. There was a Colonel Coon knife. It was already rusted to pieces, but when you opened the blade, you could see the little raccoon standing on the blade and said "Made in Tennessee by Tennesseans, Colonel Coon."
Really?
And they were all made in the early 1980s. And as a matter of fact, my wife had a relative who had a collection, so she was able to get part of that collection for me to help start me. I had one knife, and then she started me on from that. And then he told us a lot of the story. And then I'd worked with Delano Benefield at Union Carbide for years. That was where I cut my teeth programming. Okay. Was at Union Carbide. So I talked to Delano about that, and he said, "Oh yeah," he said, "the guy who invented Colonel Coon, I can't remember his name now, that started the company. His claim to fame was he figured out a way to dye the bone, because that actually comes out. It's the femur bone, I think, out of a cow is what you use for that. It's the right shape, right size, right whatever when you cut it down. Okay. But up until then, Case, everybody else who made knives could only color the outside of the bone. They couldn't get it colored down into the bone, and that gentleman worked at Stauffer in the chemical lab, and he figured out a formulation to be able to color even. So if you scratch that bone deep, it's still got that color. Still colored. So he sold that to Case, and he got to keep it himself, use it for himself. But he sold that, and that's what funded the knife company, and that was how he started. Wow, well, that's an interesting story. I had no idea. Right here, and Delano did all that. And Delano said, "Yeah," said, "Me and my son, we used to go up there to Long and Stevens, and we'd get those bones and boil them down in the front yard in a big old pot and cut them up, and then they'd get the colors done, and then they." Do you know how many different styles or there were? There were a lot, because a lot of them were custom made. I mean, they were just. Like, he got into things where he did odd things with the blades, and then and it was just a small machine shop there in Columbia, and they made these knives, and a lot of it was just as they went through. I would assume they're fairly highly collectible. They are, as a matter of fact. Now you have to watch, because the Colonel Coon Knife Company come to an end. I think the gentleman and his wife divorced, and that ended somehow or another that ended the knife company. I think it was like 1983, 4, 5, 6, somewhere right through the middle 1980s is when it ended. The name, they got to hang on to the name for, I forget how many years, 25, 30 years, something like that. But another company from the Smoky Mountain Knife Works has taken on the Colonel Coon name. So any new knives that you see that say Colonel Coon are from the Smoky, it's from over around Gatlinburg. Okay. So the old ones, I mean, if you see some that look like you said, yeah, this knife was probably made in the 80s, that's an original Colonel Coon. It's an original Colonel Coon. Okay. Yes. I've been to the Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Yes. They've got a new store. Yes. That's huge. It's like at least 2 floors, maybe 3. Yeah. It's big. We were there a few years ago, but that's pretty amazing. Well, I had no idea, really. So they were made in Columbia? Yes. Wow.
custom made.
Yeah, they were very unique, and like I said, he had a good relationship with like Case and some of it, so he learned how to get the spring backs and stuff, built well for the knives, and then they just machined them there, and then they had their own chroming process and all that kind of stuff.
Another friend of mine, and he may or may be listening. They listen quite a bit sometimes with my buddy Bill Adams over at Rent Right. You know
Yeah,
Bill.
yeah.
He's got a little collection, maybe more than I know of oil cans. Not necessarily the commercial oil cans like you used to see, like Quaker. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about oil cans like from the railroad.
Oh, the little
oil where you oil your machinery.
Like when you oiled up the Tin Woodsman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they come in they're just all kinds of little bitty tiny ones all the way up to great big ones that they used on locomotives and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just fascinated by people who get, kind of zeroed in on something and collect it.
Yeah.
And we see that sometimes, in the business that I'm in, when people have collected a certain amount of things. But oil cans was one of those things. And I was just thinking about unusual things. Somebody said they collected teeth.
Yeah, that was my brother-in-law. And most of them are his, according to him.
And by the way, you got a brother that's a collector.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Do I need to mention that at all?
Oh Lord, yeah, he collects all kinds of things. That's
he's
for
one
sure.
He's one of my favorites at our auction. He's easy to spot. He has a straw hat and he puts his number up there where you can see it.
Yep.
And
yep.
That helps us so much, by the way.
That
helps, when you got a number out where you see it. I get tickled sometimes. These people, they get their number and they fold it up about 4 or 5 ways and stick it down their pocket.
Yeah.
And then when they buy something, they have to unfold it.
Yeah.
It takes a while.
Hold it up. Yeah.
To hold it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, not Steve. His is mounted on the front of his hat up there.
Yeah, Steve knows how to collect. Yeah, that's kind of he's a character. That's about all you can say. But he gets a lot of stuff at auction. It's amazing to me, some of the stuff that he comes up with.
He has come up with all kind of stuff. And
he's made a little on the back of his truck. He's got a thing on there now where he's got like a really what it is. It's a cherry picker, like you pick a motor out with. He's got one of those mounted in the back of his truck so he can lift heavy stuff in the back end of his truck or set it out.
I think you're right. I think I noticed that.
That's
the
what he's
sale.
doing with that. Yeah.
Well, how about that?
He's got it figured out.
He's like me. He's got a little long in the tooth. He needs some help. Needs some help lifting a few things, that kind of thing. So well, we're getting pretty close to where we're going to have to wind up. We got a few minutes left, but what's on the horizon for you and DRM out there?
Well, I tell you what, before I get to that, because I don't want to forget, I do want to spend 1 minute. I asked you to remind me about going back to how I got started.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why that's important to me is if there's any, they tell us now in all of our industry things that we go to for automation, controls, anything like that, that students need to get acclimated to automation by the time they're in the 5th grade. And back before COVID hit, we would have, the school system would allow I would say at least 500 to 600 students a year would come through our shop whenever that we had something neat, like one of those robotic cells or something like that to show. Right. Adam Moore and some of the mechanical guys would set up with our high-end mechanical software, our 3D software, and show them how that works. Have the teach pendants with the robot steps so they can manipulate the teach pendants and do see their CNC that operate and all those kind of things. That really opens up those young minds like that. And some of the companies like Allen Bradley that we buy some components from in Fanuc and Kuka would give us handouts so I could ask questions and things about some stuff. And I ran into a young man at the theater. He's not a young man now, he's in his mid-20s. But he came up to me and he said, "Barry, you don't recognize me." And I thought, "Who are you?" "I do not." And you called me by my first name.
Yeah.
And he said, "I was on one of the school tours at DRM about 8 years ago. And you gave me, I answered the question right, and you gave me a toy robot."
Oh, heck.
And I said, "Really?" I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm in government now." And he said, "That robot sits on my shelf at my office."
How about that?
And I thought, man, look at the impression that did. So to get into it, I just decided that, as a matter of fact, I was in high school. They had me wiring a 3-way switch for FFA contest. There's all kinds of contests now at school that we put these kids in. They need to be a part of anything like that they can. But because of that, I realized I liked electricity. And I looked through some different catalogs and things, and that's when Saturn was coming in.
Yes.
So Tennessee had adjusted a few programs, and I went to Nashville Tech. There's all kinds of good TCAT programs. As a matter of fact, I'm really pushing TCAT in Tennessee or Southern Tennessee, both, to get together and do kind of a hybrid program to where that TCAT does what they're good at, UT Southern does what they're good at, or Columbia State or any of the colleges from here, so that you get your technical stuff from TCAT, then you get your advanced mathematics, your advanced English, your report writing.
Now you say TCAT?
Like the old, they used to call them VOTEX, but now it's TCAT.
Okay.
And there's Lawrenceburg is getting one. We've got one here too, but we're getting an expanded one here in Lawrenceburg. There's one in Hohenwald and one in Pulaski.
Well, I don't want to get it confused with TCAP.
No, it's TCAT.
TCAT.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a different thing.
Yeah, and it's all, people used to call it vocational school, but it is beyond that now with what they do. Yes, and so it's very good. Rob Alford will set you up over in Pulaski if you have any questions about that. We have good classes here in Lawrenceburg too. It's just about anywhere that you want to go. There's good classes, and it's amazing the stuff to have. But I did want to talk about that real quick too, to encourage. Take a couple, whenever that. We had that open house that day that you were talking about, Jeff, and you saw the robotics and stuff.
Yes.
One of the people that we made sure to invite was Jerry Thomas. He's the gentleman who taught calculus at Lawrence County High School for years. There is no telling how many doctors, surgeons, and engineers came out of his class because he instilled a love for calculus. And he came over and he got to see a lot of his students there. And then he brought me a list. He said, Barry, here are the folks that were outstanding folks in my class that I think would like to come back to Lawrence County. And, a lot of folks go off to college and they realize, hey, I need to learn all these things at a school like in Knoxville or Nashville or Memphis or wherever, down in Alabama, wherever. And they realize I want to come back to the family farm and I want to raise my family in Lawrence County. Because we have something very, very special. We have a good bubble around Lawrence County where we have, it's a place to raise a family. It's a place to live where you can really enjoy it. And they want to bring that back. So there's a lot of businesses, not just us, a lot around here who are really setting themselves to where you can have that great quality of life and still have a good paying job, better than what a lot of people think. And you have a lot of enjoyment in your job because you're getting to do something kind of outside that.
Yeah.
But on the horizon for DRM, we are changing. I don't know if any in industry is in typical too, but we're getting more and more buy-in from. Used to, Microsoft and Apple and those companies like that didn't care about automation. Now it's really the games that you see coming out of Apple and Microsoft are moving them into plants, into automation. There's these VR, virtual reality headsets.
Yes.
Joe Mashburn had one at the shop the other day. It's unbelievable how good it is. And that's the way manufacturing is going to be. You will operate a machine from having these things on your hands and this thing on your face. And what will happen?
It's amazing.
Well, what's going to happen is you might have a press or something that you have to manipulate. There'll be robots sitting there, but instead of us programming the robots and to figure all it out, the person will control them one-on-one off these things, and they'll be in a safe area.
Isn't that awesome?
Maybe even at your house.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So that, but there's enough human. We need that visibility, the interaction to do all those things. So that's going to take manufacturing to the next, and that is close. That's the reason why Microsoft just paid $20 billion for a gaming company. They didn't do that to sell games.
No.
They're selling the way we're going into people being able to do stuff from home, being able to try. You could try out a car.
Yeah.
From your house by virtually driving. Now you can see all around the car. You might do houses that way before too long, Jeff.
I wouldn't doubt that a bit. Well, we have virtual tours now.
Right.
You just don't put on a mask.
No, but it's coming.
Yeah, we have
to where you can get
tours.
into it and actually, you could walk in there and actually open and close a door.
Oh yeah, that's pretty amazing.
It's coming, and it's not going to be expensive. It's going to change the way travel works and people operate things.
I don't think people realize just how much change is happening and coming.
And artificial intelligence is coming. Everybody thinks of at my age, thinks of the Terminators, and stuff like that. And it's not nowhere near that. But what it can do is it can do things, it can automate what you do. Like if you were going to search on the internet to be able to write a report about Abraham Lincoln,
Mm-hmm.
you could through Chat GPT say, I need to write a report 1,000 words long on Abraham Lincoln,
Yes.
and you'd have that.
Yes.
Now, that's not good to do in school now, but when schools are able to adopt that and use that in your teaching, using things like that, you can get that information instead of it taking you a week or two to write that report. You can get that in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So things are coming. It's not scary. It's scary what the possibilities are, but it's not scary where we're at. So don't embrace it. You got a phone call.
I got a phone call. Let's see who's on the phone. Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine.
You're on WDXE with us.
Well, what I was trying to do is get the lady's number that was talking about the realtor this morning.
Okay. Well, you're probably trying to get the other station. Which 762-6200.
Okay.
Okay.
Did I win something, Mitchell?
No, I think you got the wrong station. I'm sorry, buddy. Thank you. Well, I don't know what that was about. Happens.
That's okay. That's
It
perfectly
happens.
fine.
Well,
How are
listen,
we on time?
We've run right out of time, man. It's always good to see you, and I knew that you and I could fill up an hour pretty easy, just talking. And I hope you'll come back again.
Oh, I'm absolutely glad to. And if anybody's out there listening, DRM has a web page. Now, I mean, we have a web page, but what I was getting, a Facebook page.
Yes.
So our Facebook page is mostly used for family and local interaction. So we're usually displaying folks that work for us doing something in a special, unique way or something like that.
I see it all the time.
So if any of you if you're interested in what we do and you're not already on our Facebook page, please join the Facebook page to where you can kind of keep up with us to see what we're doing, see some of the fancy things that's happening right here in Lawrence County. You know, when I was a kid, everybody just about worked at Murray, Ohio, and if Murray, Ohio got a new piece of equipment, it came from Detroit.
Yeah.
Right now, Lawrence County is sending automated machinery to Detroit.
Isn't that awesome?
So that's just what's happened in the last 20, 30 years.
Reversed it. My good friend Barry Bryan, thank you for being with me this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
We're going to switch it over, and good Lord willing, we'll see you in the morning. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Jeff.
Serving Lawrence County since 1951. This is